everyone, welcome back to my studio and my channel. I wanted to pop in here real quick today before we get started to talk about today's project. So I am going to do an experiment with 3 different types of prints, but we're going to be using an inkjet printer instead of a laser printer. So a little bit of background on that. I have been gel printing for probably about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years now. And I've watched a bazillion videos on it and done tons of research. And kind of from the get-go, it was pretty much made known that inkjet printers aren't going to work on the gel plate and you absolutely have to use laser prints. So this wasn't a big deal. I don't own one because they're really expensive and I don't really need one. Kind of thought about purchasing one for the studio, but the price seemed a little prohibitive for just having something that I wasn't going to be using very often. So what I was doing was just sending my photos and images off to, there's an Office Max near me, and getting the laser prints made, which worked perfectly, and that's not an issue at all. However, I was thinking, because lately, and I don't know if you've seen this too, but lately a lot of the people are saying you actually can use an inkjet printer with your gel plate. And so I needed to know if this was true. So I tried a bunch of different things, which all failed. Even though I followed the directions that were kind of put out there by different people, I was not getting good results, but I thought there has to be a way to do this. So I was playing around a little bit more and I think I've got it. So today we're going to do 3 different examples, and by examples, what I'm gonna do is first do a print that I printed off of my printer this morning, probably about 5 hours ago. Immediately set it down on my gel plate and set it aside. So we're going to see what happens if it sits on the plate for a long period of time. I printed another print that has been sitting in my printer tray for several hours, and we're going to see if or how that works in comparison to something that's been sitting on the plate, or the final one, which I'm going to print fresh from the printer and put it on the plate. So we're just going to do 3 examples of that and see what we can come up with. I think we can crack this, and if so, it opens up a lot of possibilities to everyone who's doing the gel printing, because unless you have a laser printer, it can get pretty expensive to keep getting your images printed from, you know, a print center or not. If you're only doing it every once in a while, it's not bad, but if there is a way to do this at home for yourself, we need to figure out what it is. Stick around. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just make 3 really quick, very similar backgrounds just on the gel plate to pick up the images with so we can compare them. I'm gonna just, I'll do the first one with you, and then I'm just gonna do 2 that are pretty similar in color and everything, just so that we can tell on a similar background what we've got going on. Okay, so now that I've got the backgrounds pulled, I went ahead and found my images. So the resource that I used for this was a site called Unsplash, and I'm gonna go ahead and put a link to that in the description. This is all copyright and royalty-free public domain images that have been put there for your use, and that's where I like to go to get my images from. That way you never have to worry about any kind of legal issues. Unless, of course, you make your own, then they're all yours. So I got this image of these, just some tree branches with a bird in it. The bird kind of got cut off a little bit, but that's okay because I'm not really trying to make a finished piece here. I'm just doing some experiments. So I've got 3 copies of this. And with this first one, I am going to simply lay the copy down right on the plate. I'm going to smooth it down like I would with any other gel print. I'm gonna take some water and I'm just going to take a towel here, a wipe, just to spread this water around. I'm just doing that to hopefully release some more of the ink. I don't want this to be completely soaking wet because that will actually destroy the image. The ink will get diluted and you won't actually be able to get a clear picture of anything on there. So I'm just using this to smooth it down and also to remove any excess water. So this was a piece that I had made a copy of, let the copy sit for a little while, and I'm putting it on the plate, lifting it with water, and we've got a very clear print. I have tried to reuse this for a second one since there's still ink on there, and you will get a print, but it's going to obviously be a lot lighter because most of the ink is on your first pull there. So I'm just going to set that aside. So what you can probably already deduce from this is while you are using the gel plate, when you're doing your transfers from either magazine images or laser prints, the toner is actually resisting the ink. That's how you're getting the print. So when you lay a layer of ink down, you lay the image on top of it. You can lay any color ink or paint down there to pick that image up. But with this, you're actually transferring the printer ink to the plate. So you're kind of limited to what you have. I don't have colored ink in my printer. I imagine it would work the same way. But for right now, these prints are all going to be in that gray tone because that's what I've got to work with. Okay, so now that I have this down there and it's not wet at all because I just had the back of the original paper wet, I'm going to use some of my matte gel medium. And my concern here is that the ink is going to bleed. And so we're going to see what happens. I only tried this one time and I didn't have an issue, but we're going to just see what happens here. So I'm spreading some of my medium on here. And I'm just going to very quickly brayer this on. I put way too much on there as usual. And once I get some of this removed, I'm going to use one of these backgrounds that I just made to pick this image up. Try to line it up a little bit. I'm not too worried about it though. We'll just see what happens here. Okay, I'm gonna smooth this on here, let it dry for a couple of minutes, and I will be back to pick up the print. Okay, this has been sitting for a couple of minutes, and every once in a while I just smooth it over here. I feel an air pocket in there, but again, this isn't really supposed to be a finished piece. We're just playing around and experimenting. I'm gonna lift this off. And I have a beautiful transfer of that image. And I could go in and alter this in any way, continue printing or collaging or whatever I want on top of this. There is a tiny little bit right here. I can't tell if that is ink smearing or if there was something on the plate, but we'll keep that in mind. I don't feel like the image really smeared too much compared to the original, so I think that there are a lot of possibilities. I did go ahead and label it on the back so I can keep these straight. This is the copy that sat in the printer and wasn't printed immediately. The next one I do is going to be one that I freshly print and put right on the plate. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back with this one, which I just took off of the printer right now, and I'm going to lay it down here. So I'm gonna just smooth this on here, and I'm actually gonna take a peek under and see, since the ink is fresh, if maybe it will transfer without water. I'm still probably going to put some water on it though, because I think that does release more of the ink, but let's take a peek. I can see little bits and pieces of it, but we're gonna get a way better transfer here if I just dampen this a little bit. So I'm gonna do exactly what I did with that last sheet. that was an older print that had been sitting around for several hours. I'm going to do the same thing though and just dampen the back. Don't want it completely soaked. But I can already tell, I mean, there are so many different possibilities for this. If you have colored ink and you've tried this, let me know how that works. I can't imagine it wouldn't work the same way, but you know, without actually trying it, I couldn't say for sure. But I mean, if not, you can always paint over it. I mean, it is a dark, it's a black gray ink, but you could certainly just paint over that with acrylics if you wanted to, because acrylics are gonna cover that. So many things I can't even begin to think. So let's, oops. And there is the transfer for that one. And give that a second to dry. And I'm gonna use this other background that I printed here. Okay. There's lots of really cool images on that Unsplash page that I was talking about. It's just like a giant database in there, and you can, there's a search engine of course, and you can search for any image that you might be looking for, and there's a variety of them. Some really, really cool stuff. So it just kind of, it's just another way, if you're not very confident in your drawing abilities, or just don't want to do the drawing by hand, that's an option for you. There's lots of ways out there to do these things. The matte medium typically doesn't take very long to set in the transfer. There we go. Okay. So this is the one fresh off the printer. This is the one that sat. This one actually seems to be a little bit darker, interestingly enough. And I can see on this one where where maybe not necessarily all of the ink came up off the plate the last time, so there's almost like a shadow. That was totally accidental, but kind of interesting. So I'm going to just mark this on the back. Oops, not this one. This one that we just did. This was fresh off the printer. Okay, for this next one, I went ahead and cleaned off the plate really quickly as to hopefully not get any transfer from the last couple of prints. I'm going to take another print that I have here, and I am going to let it sit on the plate for a good long time. I'm gonna let this go probably a couple of hours. When I come back, I'm gonna do just like I did with the other ones, and I will spray it and pull it off. And we'll see if there's any difference, if it matters how you do any of this, and I will let you know. I will be back in a few hours. Okay, I am back. It has been about 5 or 6 hours now. This is the piece that has been sitting here. I'm gonna just look and see. I do not see anything on the plate right now. The reason I did this is because someone said, and I forget who it was, a video that I saw, said that you'll get a better print if you let it sit. So I thought I would give it a try. And that's kind of the whole purpose of this, is to just see if it matters which way you do it. I don't think it's going to, but we will know for sure in just a moment or two here. So this one's been sitting here, like I said, for 5 or 6 hours, and I am now just adding water to it like I did with the others. Just to get this paper damp enough to release the ink, which I think it is just about there. Let's take a look. And it seems to have transferred pretty much exactly like the others have here. Give it 1 second for any of the residual water to dry. And then I'm going to use our last background here to pick it up and we can compare everything. I also have one extra sheet that I had printed just in case, and I think I'm going to print that one on a book page just for fun and just to see how it looks. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Just to have show you another option for things that you can do with this, and we will see what we come up with here. Okay, my final one I'm going to lay down here. Just get this smoothed out real quick. We've got a really nice print, plus it seems to have left a really decent ghost print on the plate there. So before I forget which one this is, I am going to very quickly, this was the print left 5 hours on plate. Okay. So let's take a look at these really quick, just to see what we can see. This is one I just pulled, the print that was left to sit on the plate for several hours. This one here is the one that I took fresh off of the printer. And the very first one is the one that I had let the print sit for a while, and honestly, I do not really see enough of a difference in any of these that I think it would matter. So basically, whatever you have, if you've got prints hanging around, if you just need to freshly print them and use them, I don't think it matters. I don't think you need to let it sit on the plate for hours and hours. I'm really not seeing a whole lot of a difference. So since I do have this on here, I am going to go ahead and lift it. I think what I might do is actually lift it onto some tissue paper to see what we can get. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to just put a little bit more of this down and try not to overdo it this time. We should be able to get a decent ghost print, and I'm just printing this on a piece of regular tissue paper, not the wet strength or anything, just to see if I can get it to pick up on there, which I don't imagine there should be any problem with that. Let this dry for a moment, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm gonna lift this tissue paper print up very carefully because it's still just slightly damp. I didn't let it dry the whole way. And I probably should have, since tissue paper is so fragile. We'll just try to be careful here. All right, and I'll be able to use this piece in some collage. Since I do have this one last print here, I'm gonna just go ahead and try to lift it on some book pages. Here's my image. Unfortunately, I do not have a large enough book page, but that's okay because this is just an experiment anyway. Let this sit for another second here. Some of them seem to be laying darker on the plate than others. Don't really know why. This is a print that's been laying around for a while. Okay,
That worked out nicely. Now I have a little bit of my medium here. Let's see. I wonder what the best way to do this is going to be. I'm actually just going to do that, and then I'll just pick up the rest of those trees with this other piece, because again, we're not really going for anything finished here. I'm actually going to use this just to pick up the remainder of the medium that's down there. Okay. Let's see. Okay, well that's interesting. I've got the tree branches on there. Let's see if the bird came through. Oops, that's stuck a little bit. Okay, this one's really cool. There's the bird way down there. All right, so I'm gonna set this like this. Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting there. I like the opportunities that this gives, and I could just picture a lot more work done on this, but the same basic concept on either a book page or maybe a music sheet, and doing some further collage or more mixed media on it. I just think there's a whole lot of room to work with this. So what I am going to say of this experiment is I'm glad I did it. I do not believe that it really matters how long the print hangs around, how long the print is on the plate. Actually, I think this is our best print that we got, and it was a print that had just been laying around, and I put it on the plate, lifted it immediately, and got a very clear print. So I would say that any of these methods work, and you can definitely pick up onto tissue paper just like any other print, or onto some book pages if that's what you like to do. But thank you for joining me here today. Let me know in the comments if you've done any of the inkjet printing yourself, and what your results were. If you've got any tips that you'd be willing to share for everybody, because I know I'm always looking for new tips. I will definitely try out anything that you suggest. And yeah, I guess that's going to do it for this one. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you to everybody that has subscribed. If you haven't had a chance to do that yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button. It really helps out my channel. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to click the bell notification, because YouTube doesn't always like to push videos sometimes. I don't know why. No one really knows how it actually works in there, but give yourself a chance to see the videos. I post every single Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I also put out shorts throughout the week randomly. But thank you, and I will look forward to talking to you again next week. Have a good one.